does that shift happen, though, in terms of, is it private sector, greater awareness there? Is it public policy? I mean, how do you change that equation?
Sure, I can jump in here. I have some thoughts. It's what has always transformed good jobs has been, frankly, the leadership of the people in those jobs being organized to speak up and demand more rights on the job. So it's really actually quite simple. It just so happens that women entered the paid career workforce en masse at the exact same time in the 1970s that we began to enter into the inequality era in this country. And I think we really can't look at those two phenomena without seeing how they interrelate. The fact that worker voice on the job, as represented most easily by the share of workers that are under a collective bargaining contract, has plummeted in that period of time. The union difference in pay for women, so Ijin and I work in the same job. Ijin has a union contract. I don't. She's going to make 28% more than I do. That is because you can bargain collectively on your job. That's one of the sort of mega trends that we don't think about as a feminist issue. We don't think about as a women in work issue, but it absolutely is. The union pay difference is much more important for women even than it is for men. The fact that we have moved into a time period when this kinds of public investments that made economic mobility possible for really a mostly white male breadwinner model of the middle class family have been pulled away. Whether that's investment in K through 12 education per pupil, investment in higher education per pupil. We moved from basically free public college, that was a massive investment in mobility, to when women were entering college campuses, suddenly we started dropping off in that commitment, and it's now mostly privatized public education because there are more private dollars going in than there is state support. Not to mention, obviously, the other issues around wage and hour and overtime. The fact that the Department of Labor, which I'm sure you're aware of, the Secretary of Labor was here, is going to soon be issuing a new rule to update the overtime threshold. The idea that if you make in the low $20,000 a year, you're suddenly the type of manager who shouldn't have to be paid overtime. That's been going on, a quiet sort of theft from paychecks that of course affects women more. Because if our additional hours in the workforce are not being paid for, then there's no impetus of employers to actually have more of a work-life balance. So that is going to be raised through a Department of Labor regulations considerably to about $50,000 a year in the coming weeks, which will make a huge difference. So it's these kind of things that we don't think of as feminist issues, but in fact are just worker issues, that now that the female economy is the economy, we need to start seeing those things in companionship with each other.